Hi, Dom Netjar here, Prosper Wisely. Just want to provide a quick update on some recent news around markets and investing. So, the Federal Reserve is wrapping up their 2 day meeting to discuss interest rate policy and forecasts and whatnot. And just based on the latest minutes, it sounds like Fed is going to start tapering their bond buying. And what that means is the Federal Reserve, one of their methods to support the economy through the pandemic or any tough time in the economy is purchasing of bonds out in the marketplace to suppress interest rates. And so they're discussing, and that's kind of phase one on the possibility of kind of removing their help in the economy. Or I also say it's manipulation to some degree. And so that's phase one. And then the next phase would be raising interest rates. So what does that mean for you? Well, so when interest rates rise, bond prices tend to fall. And that's a normal natural phenomenon that happens. So as an investor, if you've got a large bond portfolio, you're going to see some volatility as we transition into those different phases. So, but there's ways to mitigate that out there through inflation protected bonds and just kind of other maneuvering like short-term bonds and whatnot. So there are ways to kind of combat that volatility. So the other aspect of this Fed meeting is not only Fed tapering, and then interest rate policy. And in order to kind of gauge all of this, the Fed and kind of all the people participating in the market have to have a good read on inflation. And in my view, it's really noisy. There's just so much happening. With the supply chain crisis, you have labor shortage issue, and then the incredible amounts of money that's been printed. Normally, any one of those things would make a decision like this to be difficult. You have all three happening. So it's really hard to gauge what's going on from an inflation standpoint because there's just so many different types. There's so many different factors. And they're fairly big factors, some of them short-term, some of them long-term. So they definitely have their hands full over at the Fed. So we'll see what happens. As I said, the meeting wraps up today, and we'll get an update from them. And hopefully I'll share some of that news with you and how it's relevant to you. The other piece of news just recently is the Atlanta Braves just last night won the World Series. You may be wondering why I'm talking about sports on an investing markets type discussion. Well, the Atlanta Braves are actually one of two publicly traded teams in the Major League Baseball. So it's really interesting. Their stock was up, it's up like 1.5%, but since the playoffs and kind of that whole process started, they're up 20%. So it's obviously great for the city, great for investors. So I thought that was interesting news. Well, that's all for today, and take care.